Hello, my name is Tridar, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build the orders of architecture in Minecraft. Let's get started. So the first question you may have is, what exactly are the orders of architecture? Well, in Roman and Greek terms, they are how you put together the designs to build these temples here. And what I'm going to be covering today is going to be column designs, also entablature designs, and some suggestions about what you might do for a pediment. And I'm going to be showing you this in 3 sizes for most of the components. Some of the earlier ones over there down there only have 2. And with these, you will be able to pick whichever size and design you want to use for whichever sort of Roman structure you would like to create. Say, for instance, you would like a Corinthian composite. You can have this here, or an Ionic temple over here, or perhaps you would prefer a strong Doric design over here. You will be able to do that after I get through showing you all the designs here. Now, I think all these designs are going to be fairly straightforward, and they're all made up of repeating patterns, so there's no need for me to show you a bunch of phases in this. I'll just give you good close-up views of all of these 7 types. Now, I know what you're thinking. Tridar, there are only 5 orders of architecture. Where are you getting 7? Well, I'm actually adding 2 today, and they are Minecraft-specific orders, by the way. And I will explain those when we get over there. So, they're actually arranged from left to right in order of increasing ornateness and complexity. So, let's go down back here. And we will start with the most simple orders. These are going to be my 2 orders, by the way. The other 5 are defined by the Renaissance architect by the name of Vignola. And he has all of his ideas about the correct proportions and the naming conventions of these. There are, of course, the 3 ancient orders from Roman times, the Doric, the Ionic, and the Corinthian. But Vignola also suggested that it be added a Tuscan order and a composite order down at the end there. And I am suggesting that 2 more orders be added, one being the Archaic order and another one being the Megalithic order. And these are going to be Minecraft specific because neither one of these 2 orders uses stairs. It is all whole blocks only. And they are more simple designs than either the most simple Tuscan design down here, which the Tuscan design, it is pretty much a simplification of the Doric order here, but it is more simply done, and this was done by the Romans, and Vignola identified them using that, so I am suggesting that we take this 2 steps farther in this direction, and we add on Archaic order and a Megalithic order. Both of these, of course, as I've said, being Minecraft specific because they have no stairs and only whole blocks. So let's start off down here by taking a look at the smallest megalithic block down here. Now, as we go along here, note that the column base starts down here, where the bottom of the diorite is, but underneath that, I am adding a column base. And this is a sort of a Roman technique, also a Renaissance technique for the most part, that if you need your columns in your building to be higher, underneath the bottom of your columns, you may add a base down here to put those on. As you see the example behind here of the megalithic temple, there are just the stairs down here, but there are no column bases, as you see added here. So remember, these column bases that I'm showing you are optional. Like if you're going to be building a freestanding column as a monument or something, I would suggest that you put it on a base. All right, so let's start down here with the most basic and smallest order. And the smallest, most simplistic of the megalithic is going to be a 2x2 column, as you see here. And the base for this column is going to be 4 blocks by 4 blocks. And it is going to also be, 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks tall as well. So it is just standing on a simple 4x4 base. down here. And your column itself will be 2 blocks in thickness, and the height of your column in general will be 11 blocks. Now, you may extend the height of the column upwards, perhaps an additional 2 blocks or down 1 block. That is about how much room you have to play with the height of this. But other than extending it down maybe a block or up 1 or 2 blocks, I would suggest that you keep the numbering that I am giving you here today for all of these orders the same, because all of these parts that I'm showing you here, they all have ratio dependencies. And when you start altering the height too much, you throw all that off and it will just look wrong. So bear that in mind as we go. So the capital on top of those is just a simple 2 by 4 square there for the megalithic. Then on top of that, for the entablature, there is a bit of cobble here and a bit of diorite here. But if you want to, you may leave this as cobblestone and not use the diorite at all. Or perhaps you want to use granite or some other material to make a megalithic type temple. You are, of course, free to do that. The materials I'm showing you here today are mostly for illustrative purposes. That's why I'm not giving you any block counts for this, because I'm just showing you patterns today. And you can recombine and use the patterns back here as you see the examples behind the orders as I show them to you. So the entablature goes up for 3 blocks here and then over 1 block, and it is square with this block down here for the capital. And for the interior here, you just want to extend those out. You want to have the lintels over here be 2 blocks wide, the same as your column. And on top of that, you just want to put on a top up here for the top of the entablature of cobblestone like that. And once you have mastered how to use that pattern there, you can recombine it into something like this here by extending the entablature this way and back that way for as many columns wide and long as you wish to have. Now, if you're going to be building a Greek temple, you will want to build these 3 steps here. We'll talk about what those are later, but if you're going to be building a Roman temple, you can only put the stairs at the front and put a tall podium at the back for the temple to sit on. That's one of the ways that you can tell the difference between Roman and Greek temples. Let's take a look at the second size, the larger size, for the example that I showed you back here. So the column base is going to be, 5 by 5. And it's going to be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks tall. So it's a 5 by 5 by 6 for the base. The column itself is a 3 by 3 column, as you see here. And you want to extend that to a height of 18 blocks, plus or minus 1 or 2, depending on what you need. And on top of that, you're using the same design for the capital. It is going to be a 2 by 5 that way, and of course a 2 by 5 square this way for the top of your capital. Then on top of that, your lintels, remember, are going to be the same blocks wide as your column was down here, 3 blocks there. And you're setting it back 1 block from the Bacchus on top of the capital here. And then you're putting the architrave here for the cobblestone, and then just straight diorite on top of that. And then 2 blocks here for that there. So it's a 4-block entablature here, and then the crown of that is 2 blocks of cobblestone directly on top of that, and it is, of course, directly in line with the capital of the column below down there. And for these, I'm showing you a corner design, so you can see how it bends around the corner. Because to do the straight pattern is also, I think, fairly obvious how to do. So once you have all of those, you are now equipped if you want to make a megalithic designed temple after this fashion here. And you can do that by putting the columns like so. Now, a note about an intercollimation distance. There is only so far apart that you can put these columns. And for this, before I get too far along with that, I have a little model up here to demonstrate that to you. And here it is. This will teach you about intercollimation. That is this word here. And what this word means is this is how far apart that you can place your columns. And you might think you can just put them at any distance apart, but you really can't. There are some rules governing that. So the intercollimation for the Parthenon over here, by the way, well, a model of that, they generally, this would be a 1 column diameter. In this instance is 1 block here. So this has an intercollimation distance of 1 block and of, well, 1 diameter. See, we have our columns are a diameter of 1 block. So the distance here is an intercollimation distance of 1. And because this is Minecraft, we have to approximate some things. In general, it was 1.25 in most places. For the Parthenon, it varied, but the average is 1.25. We can't really do 1.5 because, well, maybe if we used cobblestone walls, but with whole blocks, we can't do that. But over here, we have an intercollimation distance of 2 column diameters here, corresponding to 2 blocks. And this one is called a Psi-style intercollimation, by the way. This one over here is called a Pinko style intercollimation. I think that's how you say that. I'm probably mispronouncing that, though. But over here, we have a diastyle intercollimation distance, which is, of course, 3 blocks here, as you can clearly see. So we have a distance of 1, 2, and then 3. But once we go beyond 3 column diameters, we have a problem because the materials can now no longer support the length of the lintel here, meaning that 4 blocks of stone is too wide of a column distance to be supported. And once that happens, if you build it that way, then, well, as you can see, the whole thing kind of, it collapses. Bad things happen when you do an intercollimation distance of 4, an arreo style, because this requires an arch. And I'm not going to be showing you that in this tutorial video. That will be in a future one. But I will show you how to use arches. There are some more rules for using an intercollimation with arches, which means if you want to do 4 plus, you need to put an arch up here to support the weight. Otherwise, as you saw with the sand, bad things will happen. All right, now that you've learned more about intercollimation distances than you ever wanted to know in your whole life, we must now talk about the archaic order. And this one is a slightly similar but more complicated design of the megalithic. And you can tell because the column bases down here are a little bit more ornate, but they share the same proportions in general. We've got 4 blocks this way, and they are 4 blocks tall. But down here we have a cutout for 4 blocks of diorite, well, I guess 8 blocks. And then on top of that, we have a small column base down here consisting of 4 blocks of cobblestone. And then we have a diorite on top of that. And you can have this up to a height of 12 blocks. And of course, this 12 blocks includes the cobblestone base down here, all the way up to here. And on top of that, you put a very simple capital of 1 block by 4, a 1 by 4 of cobblestone there. And then on top of that, the entablature here, you will be putting cobblestone and then 2 layers of diorite and then more cobblestone here. We're not using any stairs yet on either of these 2 models. I believe the entablature on this one is very similar to that one over there, except the base is a little bit more ornate. And the same applies down here for the 3 by 3 column diameter. And of course, the base down here is going to be 5 by 5 blocks, and it is 2 blocks tall. And then you have a 3 by 3 base down here. And then on top of that, you have another 1 by 5 design here. And then a 3 by 3 base. And then from down here, all the way up here is going to be a distance of 18 blocks for that column there, plus or minus 1 or 2. And up here, you want to have a capital on this of 2 by 5. Just a simple square for that. And then the entablature again is cobblestone. 3 blocks of diorite. And then you come out 1 block here. But now you are overhanging this area down here. This corresponds to this here. But you want to come out an additional block overhanging that for the cornice here on top of your entablature. And then this was this little part here that hangs out. This is the cornice. This is where you would start your roof. Actually, you probably want to start your roof out here. Somewhere like that is where you would want to begin to put on a roof. But I'm going to talk about roofs at the end of the video, after we finish going through all of the patterns. Now back here, you can see a design for an archaic style of temple. As you can see, it highly favors the megalithic, but it is just a little bit more detailed. So let's take a look at this here. Now the intercolumnation distance for this is of course going to be 4 blocks. That is how much we can get away with for the archaic. And the megalithic, this has to be 1 column diameter here. So they could only get the columns to go about 1 diameter apart before they would have problems. But in the archaic era, we are a little bit more advanced, so we can go a 4 blocks apart for our columns here. And you will see as we go, the columns will get farther and farther apart until we can get to a larger distance. So with that described, let us now go to the Tuscan order. This is a Roman-specific order. It is something the Romans used. It was sort of like, as I said, a Doric version, but simplified. Yeah, you could say the Romans were a little bit more economical with their decoration for the Tuscan style. You could also call this the Etruscan style, I believe. So we're going to talk about that here. And as you can see, it's a little bit more ornate. So the base down here, this is going to be what? It's 6 blocks for this base, and it's going to be a further 6 blocks square back here. And then this is a 2 by 4 base here. And then on top of that, you want to put a band of upside down cobblestone stairs all the way around here. And as I've said, these are all repeating patterns. So I'm just going to give you up close and personal looks of these and not break them down into phases like I normally do for things. Now for the base of the column, you want to have a let me just describe it back here. The base of the column is going to be like this here, a little cross pattern. And then on top of that, you're putting on some upside down, some right side up cobblestone stairs. And then you will begin your column drum. And from down here to up here is going to be 9 blocks. The entire piece of diorite here is 9 blocks. To get back down here, this would be 11 blocks. And then on top of that, for a capital, we are just doing a very simple design of upside down and then right side up cobblestone stairs placed right on top of each other, as you see done here. And then the entablature starts here. It's made out of cobblestone. Then 2 blocks of diorite. You can see a cross section of that here with a top of cobblestone up here. And we can see that we now have some details. We're using upside down cobblestone stairs for the edging of the cornice. And we also have some dentils made of cobblestone slabs here. And you want to do this every other one you can come through here and add a cobblestone slab like you see done there. You don't want to add full blocks for the dentils yet. We will be doing that by the time we get to, I think, Ionic over there. And this is an example of a corner of those. Here's how it fits together on the back here. So let's take a look at the larger reference model here, and then we'll take a look at the temple design back here that you can make from the Tuscan Order. So the dimensions for the base, that's going to be what, 7? So it's going to be 7 by 7. And that's going to be 5 by what? A 5 by 4 for the diorite here. And then on top of that, the same you did over there, upside down cobblestone stairs all the way around the base. And then you want to do a column base, except 3 by 3 now. And then cobblestone stairs on top of that. And then, of course, your column drum is 3 by 3 blocks. And from down here to up here, this is going to be a distance of 16 blocks, plus or minus 1 or 2. And on top of this, you then want to put the same design for the capital that we did on the one down there. Now, the entablature for this is going to be a little bit different. This is you want to have this 3 blocks wide here for the architrave for the bottom of the entablature. That's generally what this part here is called. It's called the architrave. We'll get to that later. And then on top of that, you want more upside down cobblestone stairs on either side, like here, and then 3 blocks of diorite on either side there. And then you're doing the same detail that we did with the half slab dentils, and the same detail again with the upside down cobblestone stairs for the edge of the cornice over here. All right, so let's take a look at that if we use that design and then make a temple out of it. So we come back here, we're building a Greek temple, so we built our 3 steps down here. And then we're choosing 6 columns wide here. And as I've said, we've now got a little bit more advanced in technology. We can have an intercolumnation distance of now 5 blocks wide. For that in general, you can stretch it another block to perhaps 6 if you need to for some designs. You can also have less than this, by the way. If you want to decrease this down to 4 blocks, you can do that as well. Possibly even a distance of 3, but they would look too much like a megalithic design. So let's take a look at this. So we can see our column and entablature design along through here. Now, in general, every time I show you the entablatures, except for the Doric, this 2 block section here is going to be a repeating pattern. Like you can see, the dentils are just repeating all the way along until you get to the corner, and then you turn the corner and start repeating them off, going in that direction back there as well. And if you want to tie your columns into your walls back here, which I didn't build, you can also make smaller corners back here to have cross beams, tying your columns and your lintels more into your structure back here. And on this one, you can also set another row of columns directly behind the ones that you build along the front here. By the way, if you wanted to have a second row of columns back here, that's perfectly fine to do. And if you build a really big one of these, you could even have another row going all the way along, so you could have 2 rings of colonnades for your temple. And I believe that that covers the design for the Tuscan Order. Now we will go on to the classic Greek Doric Order. This is the design, or rather the order, that is used for the Parthenon, which is the last video I made. I made a tutorial on a full model of the Parthenon. So if you have done that, much of this will be familiar to you. So let's start down here with the designs that I have chosen for the bases. So these are going to be 4 by 4. And then on top of that, you're just stacking up 2 layers of diorite and then upside down cobblestone stairs on top of those as well. And then you get to the bottom of your Doric column. Now, in general, the Doric order, they do not have bases for their columns. It sits directly on the floor of the temple. But for these, as I've said, if you want to make, say, a freestanding monument, I am including these designs for bases. But these generally were not added until the Renaissance. At least for the Doric order anyway. The Romans used those for Corinthian, however. So from down here to up here is going to be a distance of 11 blocks. So that's going to be the height of your column. And then on top of that, you're putting in upside down cobblestone stairs like you see done here. And then a 4x4 thing of cobblestone on top of that. For the abacus level up here, this is the capital and this is the abacus. That's what this is called. And then on top of that, this is the architrave that we're building here. And then we are doing a sort of design to simplify the metopes and the triglyphs here for the Doric order, which I will talk about shortly. And let me just show you this from the side here, because it hangs out for a distance. You're going, of course, 2 blocks wide for your lintels, because that is the width of your column, remember. And then on top of that, you're putting in your diorite here. But you want to leave a block, skip a block for that. And then you want to use cobblestone stairs, and then half slabs on every other one of those there. And then for the cornice out here, it is just a straight line of full stone bricks, like you see done here. And there's the top of that. So here's the corner design for the interior back here as well. So that is the smallest one. Let's now take a look at a medium-sized Doric order. So the block dimensions for those, you want to build that is going to be a 5 by 5, and then cobblestone, 3 layers of diorite, and then right side up and upside down cobblestone stairs directly on top of each other. And then of course we have our columns as 3 by 3, and from here to the top here, this is going to be a distance of 18 blocks. And then the capital for this is the same. You're doing your upside down cobblestone stairs here, your abacus here, 1 by 5 by 5 of cobblestone. And then of course your lintels are going to be 3 blocks wide. And then on top of that, we can now start getting a little bit more detail in our design here for the Doric order. And this is going to be the bottom of our triglyph here. And we're doing that with full blocks of diorite. I think I missed one. That one's supposed to be diorite there. All mistake. And between those, you then want to have, on every other one, you want to have these cobblestone stairs here, and leave this as full blocks blank here, and do that on every other one of those. And that is about the best we can do to approximate the design for the metopes and the triglyphs for the Doric entablature. And on every third one of these, you want to have a half slab, but otherwise ring the entire thing out with upside down stone brick stairs, like here, except on the corner. And then on top of that, we're using full blocks and then a half slab of cobblestone. Like you see the pattern done here. And then on top of that, it is just a straight band of stone bricks there. So let me show you the inside corner here. You just bend the pattern into itself and collide it. And that is the medium size. Now let's take a look at the large Doric order here. This is the one that I used to create the Parthenon tutorial. What I did was I built this order first, and then I used it to build out the rest of the temple. Now for this one, I'm also showing you a small difference in the column. By the way, this column here, you will see it is a fluted design. Now you don't have to use this. If, for instance, you would prefer to have a solid Doric column, you can come along here and fill in these indentations. Not this one here. Leave this one blank, but you can fill in the middle one here if you want to have, say, some solid Doric columns and not have them fluted. Yeah, but I think they look best to be fluted, so I would suggest that you keep that. But let's take a look at the measurements for the base. So it's going to be what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going to be a 7 by 7 base of stone bricks, and then upside down cobblestone stairs on top of that. And then what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks of a diorite there. And then this part down here, just build this part again. You just mirror that directly on top of that with your upside down and right side up cobblestone stairs. And then you can put the base of your column. Now remember, the Doric order doesn't have bases like you see the Ionic does over here. So you want to have this directly on the ground in general, unless you're building a monument or something. And the design for that, you first want to build, say, a 3 by 3 column, and then add these side things over here, and this is going to be a slice of one of the column drums. So you just stack those on top of each other, and you do that for a distance of 28 blocks, plus or minus 1, but the Doric order, it's rather tightly constrained on its proportions, so I would suggest that you stay with 28 blocks when possible. Now, for the capital, we are doing some upside down cobblestone stairs, and then you're just coming out blocks here and putting, for the corners on here, just put more upside down cobblestone stairs like you see done there for those. And then on top of that, you want to have a what, a 7 by 7 abacus on top of that. And then once that is done, your column is complete, and we can now start building the entablature. Now, of course, the lintel for these is going to be the width of the column, so it's going to be 5 blocks wide, like you see done here. And you pretty much make this entirely out of diorite. 3 blocks up that way, and along the bottom here, you can fill in the middle with cobblestone or leave that blank. And then on top of that, to represent the different parts, these parts are going to be the triglyphs, these 3 blocks here. This pattern here, this is called a triglyph. And in the middle here, this section that I have done out of chiseled stone bricks, not lodestones, these are chiseled stone bricks in my texture pack. This is going to be what's called a metope. So to get those, once you have built your 3rd block, you then want to come behind that and add cobblestone. And then on the bottoms of those, underneath the triglyphs, you want to add these half slabs here. And only do this underneath the triglyphs. You want to go for 3 blocks for that, and then skip 3 blocks and then add it again. Like you see done there, and back here you can clearly see the repeating pattern. And then on top of that, we are adding the cornice. And we're doing that with cobblestone for the most part, but also some upside down stone brick stairs and slabs at block increments of 2. You want to go 1 and then skip 1, then 2, then like that there. And here is the detail on the corner. And from the back here, the triglyphs kind of collided together, so there's not much detail to show back here. And once you have done that, you now know how to build the ancient Greek Doric order. And with that, you can build a temple like this here. So you can have your columns stacked up along here. And then on top of that, you put the repeating patterns of the triglyphs and the metopes of the Doric entablature. These are just repeating patterns stretching all along through here. And then on top of that, you put your cornice up here with that pattern there. And on the inside here, I have a more complete version to show you of what you can do for a wall. This is more clearly described in my Parthenon tutorial, so if you want to see details of that, you should go watch that. And I believe that that is going to be the Doric order fully described, so we can now talk about some people's favorite order, the graceful Ionic order. So let's start down here and describe the smallest one. Now you will notice at this level here, we are now at the point where we can have a 1 block in diameter order, and the Ionic and the Corinthian and the composite will all have this feature. And the reason for this is that, as you can see, the Doric columns in diameters, they are all thicker than either the Ionic or the Corinthian. Both of these two orders tend to be somewhat thinner in diameter. But because these orders I'm showing you are all the same height, that means that the proportions dictate that the column diameters for these have to be thicker. That is why these are 2, 3, and 5, and these are 1, 2, and 3. So bear that in mind as we go. Now you can see we just have a 3x3, very simple design down here for the base. And the base of this is fairly straightforward, as you can see here. The column height for this is going to be 7 blocks of diorite. You can squeeze this down to 6 or increase it to 8 if necessary. And on top of that, to represent the scrolls, I have chosen to use my chiseled stone bricks, but also some cobblestone walls here. And this is the only really good way I could think of to illustrate the scroll work for the Ionic. So that is what we will be using. And then on top of that, you just have a simple 1 block lintel, then a 1 block thing of diorite for the entablature design. And then, of course, the cornice up here is going to be just stone bricks upside down stairs hanging over the edge there. Very simple to do. So let's go ahead and move on to the middle size here. The column base down here for this is going to be what? How many blocks? 1, 2, 3. Looks like it's 6, so it's going to be a 6x6 of cobblestone. And then on top of that, put on the stone brick stairs. And then 4 blocks, 4x4 of a diorite there. And then on top of that, upside down stone brick stairs along the edge here. And that will get us up to the base of the column here. So this is 2 blocks this way and 2 blocks that way. Then on top of that, you're putting cobblestone stairs. And then from down here to up here, the height of your column shaft is 16 blocks there. Plus or minus 1 or 2, depending on what you need. And for the scroll work on the side here, we are now to a size that's large enough that for the scrolls on the side here, I am using, again, chiseled stone bricks, not lodestones. But if you do have a lot of extra materials. I suppose you could use lodestones for this. And in the middle here, we have some cobblestone walls here on either side of that. For a little bit more detail on the capital, so we have our side scroll over here and our side scroll over here to represent the Ionic scrolls as best we can at this level of detail. Then on top of that, for our 2-block wide lintels, we have upside down stone brick stairs here. And then on top of that, we are beginning the entablature with a bit of diorite here, like you see done there, and then upside down cobblestone stairs on top of that. Then 2 more blocks of diorite, like you see in profile here. And now we are doing our dentils out of upside down stone brick stairs, like you see here. And in between those, you want to take your cobblestone walls and alternate. In other words, put down a stair and then a wall, and then a stair and then a wall. And then in front of that, for the cornice, you then want to put upside down stone brick stairs all along the edge down here. And this block here will be, I think it will be, it should be even with that down there. All right, so let's take a look at the largest example, then I'll show you the Ionic Temple design back here. So for the column base, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going to be 7 by 7 made out of cobblestone, and then you're using the same design that we did over here for the stairs. And then what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks tall for the diorite section of the base, and then a section of cobblestone, and then you want to be putting some dentils on the underside here of the base made out of cobblestone stairs, and then a band of upside down stone brick stairs on top of that there, and that will give you the base for a column. Now let's take a look at the column itself. So it's going to be done according to this design here. And then on top of that, you are putting on upside down cobblestone stairs like you see done here. And then from here, all the way to the top up, I think here, this is going to be a distance of 25 blocks. So for this order at this size, that is how high you want to make your column shaft. You can go up or down a couple of blocks if necessary, but not too many. Remember, we have proportions to keep in order here. So for the capitals, you can see that we're now to a size that we can have more detailed Ionic scrolls arranged on either side of the column here. Now I think this is fairly straightforward. You can see exactly how to build that on the front. And on the side here, there's just a little cutout on the sides back here with some upside down stone brick stairs in there as well. And I think that reasonably replicates the Ionic capitals. It looks pretty good from a distance anyway. But at this size, the lintels are going to be a little bit bigger. They're going to be 5 blocks wide in general. And then on top of that, for the architrave, you are putting on 2 blocks of diorite. And well, 1 block of diorite and then 1 block of cobblestone, actually. Now it's a little tough to see with the gradient of the colors. I think you can see it with the side view here. And along the sides here, we are putting in, on top of that, a band of upside down stone brick stairs. Then 3 blocks of diorite all the way around for the frieze up here on the entablature. And then we're putting in a dentil design up here made of upside down cobblestone stairs and walls. And then on top of that, you are putting on just full blocks, and then you're coming out an additional block with the slabs here and back here. These back here are going to be stone brick slabs, and then on top of that, to get the cornice up here, you are putting on upside down stone brick stairs. And let me show you that from the back here as well. All right, so once you have done that, you now know the pattern that you need to build this back here. So you just build 6 columns in a row, and then you put an entablature with its repeating patterns all along the sides there. I'm showing you the corners, so you can start at a corner and then build that way, and then build back that way. Going inside here, you can see that you can tie your columns into the wall back here. There should be a wall back here somewhere. If you want to have one of those, and I believe that will show you everything that you need to know to construct any one of 3 sizes of Ionic order temples. So with that said, let us now go to my favorite order. Well, actually my favorite order is the composite, but the Corinthian is always near and dear because I just love the acanthus leaf design for capitals. So this is generally my go-to design when I'm going to build something Roman anyway. The Romans also favored this order. That was also their favorite order that they would use ubiquitously, pretty much. But not always. So over here, let's start at the smallest one. I think you can see quite clearly how this base is put together. And then the column base down here, and then the shaft of the column. And this will, of course, I think this is a height of 6 right here. Now, I did this for example to show you that you can use this for a 6. But like the Ionic over there, I would suggest that you can increase this to a height of 7 if you want to as well. I think this is only shorter because of the capital up here is a little bit more ornate. So to represent the acanthus leaves, you know, Minecraft, all we've got are upside down stairs. So we are using those here for that. And then on top of that, you have very simple entablature and cornice, as you see done here. So I don't think I need to talk about that too much. If you have built my small Roman temple design, this is the order that I use to construct that. So over here, let's look at the base for the Corinthian. We are now getting very ornate with the bases down here. And these are going to be, what, 6 by 6? And then the stairs. And then the diorite and cobble details for those. And that's going to be, what, 4 blocks? 4 by 4. And then you build the top of that, and then the standard base of the column here. And from here, all the way up to here, this is going to be a distance of 15 blocks. And then on top of that, you are putting down a series of both cobblestone and stone bricks upside down stairs, according to this pattern here, to represent the acanthus leaves. Now, if you are a veteran to my tutorials, you will be able to build this column design in your sleep. Well, maybe that one over there. But this is pretty much the design that I have used for an awful lot of my tutorials so far. In the future, we'll be doing a couple more. We've already done a Doric order for the Parthenon, but we'll be using all of these over time. So let's show you the side view here of the design for the entablature. And you can see that you're starting with diorite, and then you're going with upside down stone brick stairs, 2 more blocks of diorite, and then you're building in the dentil design here with a series of cobblestone walls, stairs, and slabs with chiseled stone bricks set behind the walls. And then on top of all of that, going out an additional block are stone brick stairs to form the cornice up there as well, along the side here as well. All right, so now let's take a look at the big one. So over here, the dimensions for the base down here, this is going to be what, 7 by 7? And then you're stacking on your cobble, then your stairs, then your design here for what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. There. And then stairs on top of that here. And then more stairs on top of that, and that will be the base of that complete. This would also serve as a nice base if you ever wanted to build, instead of a column here, if you just want to build a statue up here. I have often used this to put a statue on top of that for like a pedestal. So back here, let us now take a look at the column bases. And that is done according to this design here. Very standard design. Now from here all the way to up here, this is going to be 24 blocks tall, plus or minus a couple, depending on what you need. And on top here, I think you can clearly see the design that we are going for to represent the acanthus leaves. It's just more upside down stone brick stairs like we did down there, except we now have a third block so we can separate them out and get just a tease a little bit more detail out of these at the top here. Fairly straightforward to do, I think. And then on top of that, we are building the entablature. The lintel for this is going to be 5 blocks wide for this one. And then you can see from the side here, you are going up with diorite, then stairs, then more diorite here. And then you're building out the dentils for those up here. And you're doing that with slabs and stairs and then full blocks back here. And then on top of those, you are doing the chiseled stone bricks there as well. And then for the corner of those, we then want to have the cornice where we come out on the corner here. And here's the design on the corner for the back here. And once you know how to do that, then you will be able to build something like this here. This is actually a composite. I'll get to that in a moment. But this is a composite designed temple in the either Corinthian or composite order, as you see done here. And let me explain something about the composite order. This is something that Vignola added. Again, remember the Renaissance architect Vignola? He defined 5 orders of architecture. I have added 2 that we have already talked about. The one he put on the end here is called the composite order. And this is sort of a Renaissance, but also a Roman invention. I think they use this a few places. This is a composite of both the Ionic and the Corinthian. And as you can see here, the only real way that I am able to replicate that in Minecraft is on the capitals. This is where the real changes come in, is to add more cobblestone walls here to add more detail for scroll work on the side here. We've got some on the corner and some in the middle here as well. And these are supposed to represent Ionic scrolls being incorporated with the acanthus leaves. So we have a fusion of the Ionic and the Corinthian for the composite order here. And I'm not going to go through measurements for these, since this one is actually identical to the Corinthian, by the way. And so is this one on the bottom here. The only changes for these is I have added these bands of upside down and right side up cobblestone stairs down here for more detail for these bases. All the heights of the columns are the same, but I have added them also below the capitals here at the top as well, made out of stone bricks, as you see done here. And this is my own little addition to add some more ornate detail to the composite order. And as far as entablatures and everything, these are straight copies of everything that I just described over there for the Corinthian order. You just put that directly on top. So as I've said, the only real difference is going to be down here, this little band on the bases, this band below the capitals, and these extra details on here of cobblestone walls being added to Corinthian capitals on the sides here to get, as best we can get in Minecraft, representations of Ionic scrolls. So with that, that is the 7 orders of architecture fully described. And you now, up to this point, I've only talked about building the columns and the entablature, but now we need to talk about the pediment. And that is this triangular section here. This is called the pediment. And let's talk about that and some terminology and some roof designs you can use to wrap up the probably long-winded tutorial by now. So, roof slopes. This one back here, this example of Doric, this has a very shallow roof slope of 14 degrees. This is roughly equivalent to 14 degrees every time you want to go 2 blocks. And then these are half slabs, by the way, here. And then 2 blocks here. In other words, every time you go 2 blocks, you are going up half of a block, as you see done here. And when you do that, this will create a rise of roughly 14 degrees. And this really only looks good for Doric and Ionic back here. Both of these have examples, roofs on them, of 14 degrees. However, once you get up to Corinthian and beyond, I would suggest you start using a steeper angle. And a good one for Ionic would actually be 18 degrees. And with that, that is actually, it's the same as this one, except all of the half slab blocks here, they are pushed into each other. You see, done like that there. So every 2 blocks, you then go up half a block. And then you go up 2 more blocks, and then half a block, and then 2 more blocks. And then once you do that, you will have a roof slope of roughly 18 degrees. Now, a third design you can use, like if you're going to be building a Corinthian or composite temple, I would suggest that you start thinking about a design of 27 degrees. This is this slope here. It is more severe than the 2 shallower ones that we have used over here. But some temples, especially smaller temples, you can get away with using going up a half a block every time you go up a full block here. And this is roughly equivalent to a slope of 27 degrees. But for larger temples like this here, the pediment, this starts getting so high up here, I would recommend that you stick to shallower angles. Like if you're going for a temple that has either maybe 8 columns wide or possibly 10 or beyond, you should probably use something along the lines of 14 degrees. But if you have a small temple, say one that only has 4 columns wide, you can think about using a 27 degree slope for your pediment. Now let's take a look at some examples back here of that, and also some terminology. Because let me explain some of the things that I have been using, and I've labeled all of these, by the way, so you can see them. I probably should have done this at the beginning of, or oh well. Down here, these 2 bottom blocks, down here for the foundation, both of these are called the stereo bait, as you can see here. That's what this is called. And then the third step up here, this one is called the stylo bait. So you've probably noticed that all the designs I have been using, they've all had these weird 3 steps on them. And that is because all these have labels, and the Greeks defined these as 2 stereo baits and then a stylo bait on top of that. And on top of the stylo bait, you can then start putting your column bases. And for the Doric, remember, we don't have column bases, but we do have column drums, so we stack those on top of each other. And I've already talked about the fluted columns. Remember, I said the gaps in here, these represent a flute, but these projecting blocks out here, these represent a fillet. So you have a fillet, and then a flute, and then a fillet, and then a flute, and so on and so forth, all the way around the temple. And I should also remark, you can do that same design for flutes and fillets to have your fluted columns for 3 blocks wide if you knock out the blocks as you see done here. But I didn't show the reference models with that, but I'm adding that here so you can understand. Now if we go up all the way to the top here, we then get to the capital. This whole 2 block section here, this is called the capital. And on top of that, the smaller parts here for the Doric order, this is called the necking. And then the next block up is called the echinus. And then on top of that, we have this the flat abacus here. And on top of that, that supports the architrave. That is this section here. The lintels that I was talking about, we generally have a very plain architrave that sits right on top of the abacus here. And this begins the layer called the entablature. So from here to up here, this entire section here is called the entablature. And here for the Doric order, the details for this is called the triglyph, because there are 3 of these sections here, 3 blocks in our case, and between those are the metopes. And they are made like this pattern here, which I have already described. And then on top of that, you have the cornice, which is, of course, the upper edge of the entablature. And then on top of the cornice, you then have your roof that comes out a little bit. And this section here, because this comes out another block on top of your cornice here, this section is called the raking cornice, as you see done here. And this begins the bottom section of the pediment. Remember this entire triangular section that I've been talking about on top of the roof of the Greek temple here? This is called the pediment. The section below that most people in Minecraft forget to build, but you won't be making that mistake, is called the entablature. So this entire section here, called the entablature, and then below that you have your columns and your colonnades. So for the Ionic order down here, we have the column base, and then we have the column shaft, and then we have the column capital up here. And for the Ionic, we have a smaller abacus up here, and we have the volutes of the Ionic scrolls. These are called volutes on either side of those. And then we have, again, the architrave for the Ionic order. And then we have a molding below that for this detail. Now, this is a new detail. This is what is called egg and dart motif. Now, for your Ionic entablatures, you can leave them blank like I originally showed you. However, another thing you can do is you can add a frieze. And I have chosen to use a design for the frieze of egg and dart. These things here, this is an egg, and this is a dart, and another egg, and another dart, and so on and so forth, for a carved design for an Ionic temple, as you see done here. And then on top of that, you have another molding. And then you have your cornice again, and then the start of your raking cornice. And this comes out an additional block in front of your entablature. And also it overhangs the side for a block as well. Now let's talk about these things here. These things that you always see on these sides of Greek temples, these are called acroterion. And they're called acroterion because they're sort of like a little ornamental detail. So you can see we have a sort of a winged horse feature here, but we have the same feature over here, but no wings. And in the middle right here, we have another one that forms out the middle there, and you can see the designs I've chosen. If you want to know more details about those, please refer to the Parthenon tutorial that I previously did. The same goes for the statues in here. These are called, underneath here is called the gable, by the way. where the statues you would generally go. This entire thing up here is called the pediment, but this smaller inset region down here where you can put these statues and everything, this is called the gable. All right, and there are just a few more terms to talk about before we finish that. And these are going to be the ones for the Corinthian order. So down here we have the pedestal, or the base that I have been talking about for the columns. And then on top of that you have your columns and everything. But there are a few terms for the Corinthian themselves. So I've already talked about the acanthus leaf that we are representing with upside down stone brick stairs, but there are also the rosettes and the bosses and the volutes for the composite order. If you wanted to have some ionic volutes for those, you would have to add those. And in between those, you have your bosses and your rosettes. And this would be a boss, and would be a rosette there. And then on top of those, the last thing we have to talk about are the dentils. And I've been talking about this design, and these are called dentils, by the way, because they are supposed to represent teeth. I know that's kind of strange to have teeth on your building, but I guess that's what they thought they looked like, so they just called them dentils. And I believe that will fully describe all of the terminology at the end here for those of you that are interested in that sort of thing. Over here, we have what I was talking about earlier. If you wanted to take just one column of any of the orders that I have shown you, and you have a statue design that you want to put on top of it, you can, down here, you can build a pedestal. Then you can build a column. Then you can build a tiny bit of entablature. And then on top of that, you may place a statue up here on the top. And you can build as many of these as you please all around your world for ornamentation. That's generally what I use these. If I'm building, say, a temple or something, I'll put one on either side as ornamentation. And now, finally, at long last, at the end down here, I want to show you some designs for Corinthian temples. So down here we have the smallest one, made up of the Corinthian order that I described to you. Column diameter of 1. Over here we have now column diameter of 2 in the composite order, done like so. And over here we have a column diameter of 3. And at the end and down here we have 3 examples. We have a Doric order of temple, then we have an Ionic order, and finally a Corinthian order down here at the end of 3 different designs of temples. So that completes the tutorial on the orders of architecture. This entire world that I'm showing here today is of course available for download in the video description, where you can come here and take a look and use these bits and pieces that you need for any sort of Roman or Greek temple building job that you want to do. As a follow-on, I will be producing individual tutorials both for these 3 sizes of temples that you see behind me here, both the Doric, Ionic, and the Corinthian. And they will be full tutorials, not just where I show you patterns that you can replicate. They will be fully fleshed out buildings that you can build from the ground up. So with that, I'm sure you have now learned more about the orders of architecture than you ever wanted to know. And I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.